Folks, welcome back again for another episode of the Soul Sessions as featured here on Wrestling Republic. My guest with me today, Scottish independent wrestler Daisy Jenkins. Daisy, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely, my pleasure. And now, for our viewers who may not be familiar with yourself, Daisy, how did you get your start within the wrestling business?
Well, I started watching it when I was 7 years old,
Ooh.
1997, right at the peak of the Attitude Era. I look a lot younger than I, I look a lot younger than I actually am, so it surprises quite a lot of people. I watched it for a few years then, and then became a teenager, fell out of it, and then I remember my brother started watching it again, sort of 2010-ish, and I made fun of him for it. And then 2018, the first all women's Royal Rumble came around, and my interest was piqued again. And it was a point in my life that I needed it the most. Confidence was at an all-time low. So watching it kind of brought me along with it. And then I decided to change my job to allow me to have the time to give it a go. And here I am.
Oh, that's very well done. Especially, what was it about that Women's Rumble in 2018 that just really drew you to it? Was it just the women getting a chance to do something they'd never done before, or was it the competitors at the time?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of both, to be honest, because when I was younger, there wasn't that many, although the women that were in it were phenomenal. So, the likes of Lita and Trish, China, like I loved it then. And then I think when I started sort of not watching it again, there wasn't really anyone that I could relate to. For instance, and I was, becoming a teenager, found different things. And then I think it was the main thing that piqued my interest was the talk of Ronda Rousey joining, because I had watched UFC kind of on and off for years. So that's what kind of piqued my interest. So when I watched it, and then obviously loads of people came back, and there was all these new people to get interested in, it was just the start of falling in love with it all over again.
Oh, truly with everything. You may come out of it for a wee bit, but then something's going to hook you right back in, and you realize you've discovered that love again. And it's quite an experience to say. What was it about Ronda that really drew you to it? Just obviously, was it your UFC career and being such an established champion in the UFC, or was it just her?
Yeah, I think it was the crossover. Like I was just like super interested to see what she done with it.
Oh, wow.
And seeing like how she kind of like transferred it over, and then obviously to have such a big name, it kind of made me think, well, what's going on there that they're bringing her in and she wants to go, etc., etc.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What are your thoughts of Ronda in the WWE? Her time in there, do you think it's been exceptional? Do you think there's room for improvement, or do you think like she's done the job she can?
Do you know, it's been a bit of an odd one because actually I started watching it and was interested in what Ronda was doing, but through that I actually found that Becky was the one that I thought was the most intriguing, and she's probably who I would say I look up to the most. In terms of Ronda, I think like the way that she's transferred it over, she's trying something that other people aren't doing. So it does make her interesting to watch because she'll do stuff that potentially other people wouldn't do. I quite like what she's doing now. I kind of feel like when she first came in, she should have been a bit more badass, but she was a bit apologetic to start off with, and that's kind of what let Becky kind of pave the way a little bit there. I think she played on that a little. But I think she's phenomenal. I mean, from having a baby as well and coming back to win the Royal Rumble this year was just it's brilliant to watch, really, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, of course, and especially you could see Ronda, Becky, and Charlotte Flair all main event WrestleMania. Were you watching the match as well?
It was unreal. I think like that for that to be sort of like my first proper year of watching it again. Yeah, it really motivated me to want to do it myself. So
Well, that's great to see. Giving all these women the chances to main event big shows that draw hundreds of thousands of people just shows that they have a place within the wrestling business, and they can have connections with even like people yourself who get into it, and just people who maybe need that idol to look up to. It's always a great establishment figure for people to see, especially for that sort of thing, I feel.
Yeah, 100%. Sorry, I just lost connection a little bit, but I'm back.
Don't worry. Now, I know you would do some training with Fight Pro Wrestling Asylum.
Yes.
That's right. So what for viewers who are not familiar with Fight Pro, tell them about ourselves.
So Fife Pro Wrestling Asylum is a training school in Fife in Scotland. Head coach Andy Wild, and it's a very inclusive environment, very supportive. and it is my favorite place in the entire world.
No, well, that's great to see. That's great to see. About going into obviously training as well. What were some of things you had to get used to within the ring and your training style?
Well, I think when I first started, so I started at a really kind of awkward time because I originally had always kind of planned to start in 2020, but I was away for my new job on a training course until sort of like, well, in January it started and it was supposed to be until June. And then obviously March, COVID changed the world.
Yeah.
So it kind of got put on hold that way. And I didn't actually have my first session until kind of middle to late October of 2020. And I only had 4 non-contacts end of April 2021. And then I didn't start contact training until July 2021.
Oh.
So it was it was a different experience for me than it has been for most. But I think that time gave me the opportunity to really work on like footwork and positioning, that sort of thing. Kind of get in shape as well, because I was out of shape completely when I first started. And then the second lockdown time to get in shape for when I started properly. So I think the interesting thing for me at the start was definitely going from being in the ring by myself to then adding another person. But I took to it quite quickly, and here we are.
That's great. So you talk about getting into shape as well. We've had multiple people on talking about the physical aspect. James Ellis talked about how he during the pandemic looked at himself and attended to a new dietary routine. What was it for you about the dietary side of training that you developed into?
Sorry, I cut out a little bit there.
That's all right. I was just saying about dietary needs.
Change my. Yeah.
What kind of changes did you do?
Oh, sorry, I'm cutting out all the time.
Don't worry.
Am I back? I think I'm back.
Yeah, you're back. Just thinking about you're developing into dietary needs, changing in diet. What were some things you looked at? Was it like calories or food intake or different things you didn't digest for developing into training regime?
Yeah, I mean, at the start, it was all about kind of trying to lose weight. I kind of knew from the first few sessions, even with it being non-contact, that I felt like I just wasn't in the right shape to do it for me personally. Like, I couldn't really hold my own body weight, that sort of thing. So it was really about that to start off with. So I stopped drinking, and I'm still. It'll be 2 years sober on January the 1st, so that was a huge change. And then getting into kind of knowing the different aspects of nutrition. And I'd been an athlete when I was a teenager, so I kind of had an idea, but I needed to kind of change that up for kind of strength building, which was really what I was looking for. With the sort of style of wrestling that I wanted to do, I kind of knew that I needed to, have a strong core and kind of build muscle that way. So that's really what I looked into. But yeah, it's a minefield. I've still not really figured it out, to be honest. It's kind of a learning curve as we go along, but we're still learning. But it definitely is one of those things that you have to pay attention to, because otherwise, with certainly the amount that I train and the type of training that we do, your body can just feel terrible, for a lack of a better phrase.
Oh, I couldn't imagine. And speaking about like your first in-ring physical encounter, we had James Ellis mentioned before. He talked about when he first got in the ring, he was completely out of his environment, thinking, "What the fuck have I got myself into?" Were you sort of like the same feeling, or did you think, "Oh, I kind of got the hang of this"?
It was a bit of both, to be honest. I surprised myself how quickly I picked it up, and it was one of those kind of like full circle moments for me, because from starting to watch it again and kind of making the decision to want to try it, by the time I got to the point where I could give it a go, it'd been 2.5 years of me planning how I was going to get in the ring and start training. So I'd thought about it so much over, like 2.5 years, wishing and hoping for there to be an opportunity for me to be able to do it. So, I wanted it so badly to go well that I was scared and I was kind of anxious and apprehensive about it, but I think I just threw myself into it, to be honest, and I'm so glad that I did, because I kind of picked it up really quickly, and I think I progressed quite quickly. And then I just had to try and get over the nerves, really, is what the main challenge was.
Oh no, I couldn't imagine the nerves of being in the ring for the first time, and even having just like the trainees watching you, or like even having a crowd watching you. You must have been maybe a bit of stage fright. Do you think that, or do you think?
Yeah, 100%. And like especially in training, you have to get over the sort of performing to your peers. It seems like it should be easier, but I found it quite difficult for a long time.
Oh wow, was that one of the? Do you think that was maybe one of the hardest things for you to adjust with training, or were there other aspects
Yeah.
of it?
And I think like the most frustrating thing about it was that I knew that I was capable. I just couldn't execute it. And all the time when I watched videos back, my head was down the whole time. Like I just wasn't, I was very insular, and I looked fine. Like the execution of moves or my movement was all fine. It just I had no personality, so which was very odd for me because I have quite a big personality just in general. So the fact that I found it quite difficult to translate that was really frustrating. And then it just sort of clicks the more confident you get, and then it doesn't it still scares me to a certain extent, and I think that's a good thing because it means that I care. But I'm definitely able to do it a lot easier now.
Oh, that's good to hear. It's good to hear, definitely. We've had former Nightmare Factory trainer Kid Bandit and Casey Impala on, and they talked about how when QT and Cody Rhodes would talk to them, they would always give them one piece of advice, and they would hold on to that while they were training. Was there ever one piece of advice you were given that you've held on to while training?
Oh, there's been so many, but I think in terms of training, it was always to just let go. In terms of the performing aspect, I'd got myself to a point where I was physically conditioned, I was in good shape, I was able to execute things, but I was too nervous. I was very kind of, that's the only way to describe it, is that I was too nervous. So a lot of the time people would just say, relax, let go, let it happen. You're naturally, you're natural at it. So just let it be.
Yeah, and always that cycle of repetition as well. You just get more and more fell into the role, and I know it's bad at first time or even nervous, but that repetition cycle breaks down the barriers.
Yeah, 100%. And that was something that I really did take quite seriously, was getting reps in at training. I started helping out with our Wii wrestlers, which are our kids' classes, and it was honestly that kind of helped me let go a little bit and kind of become less nervous, because they just throw themselves into everything, and they've got such big personalities that I was like, do you know what, if they can do it, like I can do it. And they all looked up to me, so that was definitely a like sort of changing point for me, was when I started doing that.
Oh wow! So I'll throw up to there's probably American viewers like that wondering what's we? Why are they saying we? We it's Scottish slang for little fellas. That's understand that from our point of view. So what was it like when you were given that approach to treat the Wii class? What was that to you? Did you think, oh, this is a big responsibility, I'll take it?
Yeah, and my coaches knew that I would be a kind of good role model for them, I think. I'd worked at a camp like 10 years ago, so like I knew that I could work with children, and like they looked up to me, and it was a lot of fun. And like through that, it just it really let my guard down almost, because they always did. But it also was a changing point for me, sort of learning myself, because having to explain something to someone else in maybe like the simplest of terms actually helps you get it into your own head. So I was able to like figure a lot of things out that potentially I'd been struggling with, just by explaining it to other people.
Wow, good. Well, hey, good on you, Daisy. Honestly, well done for there. I'll give you major props for that. Even treating young kids as well must have been something as well. But has something been surprising you, or was like, wow, holy shit, look at these kids go?
Yeah, they're amazing. Honestly, some of them are absolutely phenomenal. We've got a couple of kids 10 years old who honestly will be like future superstars. They're absolutely incredible. And we also have a juniors class, which is teenagers, and they're starting to move up into the adults class, and they're starting to be on shows. We're putting on showcases and stuff like that, and they're honestly just incredible, because I think like the type of training that we do and how supportive we are with it. It's a safe environment. Like they do really flourish in that environment, so it's really showing in terms of them starting to kind of do shows and really, I'm very proud of it. I still do it. It's been a year since I started doing it, and every Wednesday I'm there.
Oh,
it's one of my favorite days of the week.
Oh, absolutely bloody brilliant. Well done for you. Now I want to talk about another Fife Pro Wrestling Asylum trainee that you might be familiar with, who we've had on the show, Ashley Vega.
Very familiar, yes.
Yes. Well, Ashley told me a story about how you drove them down to see a Mickie James.
I did.
Yeah, I just want to know what was your thoughts about that car ride to go see a wrestling legend like Mickie James?
Oh, it was incredible. I think so. Going back to sort of Becky, and that's who I looked up to. I drove down to Manchester and back in a day, like 3 years ago, to go and meet her. Like this was obviously before I'd started thinking about training and stuff. And it was one of those like weird things, like, I needed, like, I knew that I sort of needed something to give me motivation, and like meeting someone, it seems like quite silly, but like meeting someone for a couple of minutes that you look up to so much and having a really good conversation with them can really change your outlook on a lot of things. So I kind of knew that Ashley felt the same sort of way towards Mickie James. It was someone that she's always looked up to as a hero almost, so it was a no-brainer for me to kind of help that happen. But we had a lot of fun. It was a great show. And it was phenomenal to see someone like Mickie in the ring. It's just, it really gives you perspective on how amazing they are.
Oh, well, hey, that's great to see. I mean, I couldn't imagine that car must have been a bit of a slog all the way driving, but hey, they've done it. Well done.
Yeah, well, the way down was fine, but the way back up we had to rush a little bit because I was going to ICW that night. So I think we left pretty early in the morning, and I pretty much went straight to ICW from it.
Oh, well, hey, there it is. And speaking about ICW, ICW is one of the biggest promotions here in Scotland. How did you initially get booked on that for ICW?
It was actually my debut.
Whoa.
Yeah, in April, I got put in a match with Tonga, and it was like a kind of like get over match, but it was a huge opportunity for me to kind of show what I could do at that point. And it went really well. I learned a lot from it, a huge amount from it. It really gave me a lot of confidence. And then it was about five or so months before they had me back as sort of me.
No, hey, good. And you've also wrestled some great talent in ICW as well, Moxie Spartan as well. Talk about wrestling her. What was that like?
Yeah, first match when I came back was against Moxie Malone. So yeah, I mean, she was on a hell of a run, and it was at that point, like a really important part in her sort of story aspect going along with ICW. So it was great to get in the ring with her. Like I'd really liked her stuff going, and we had like really good chemistry, I felt. So it was nerve-wracking, don't get me wrong, because it was the first time that I had an entrance and I was going in with Moxie, but it was probably one of my favourite moments, standing on that apron as me.
Well, hey, that's great to hear as well. And obviously, Moxie Malone is a true talent as well. And you can see that match as well on the WWE Network here in the UK, Peacock for the United States. What does it mean to you to see your work on WWE's platform? Matches on that thing as well with Becky, Ronda are also on that platform, and then there's yourself as well. What does that mean to you?
Everything. It's I still actually can't quite believe it. I try not to kind of think about these things too much because I'm just like sort of like pushing forward to continue going and continue to try and be the best that I can be. But when I do take a moment, or if I like go on to the app to kind of watch things back, it's a strange feeling because it doesn't quite, I don't quite believe that it's me yet. But I'm very, very proud of it. Probably like my proudest moments are happening this year, continuing to happen, and it's just going from strength to strength. But yeah, it's a bit mad. I've got a lot of sort of family and friends in America and Canada and stuff, so the fact that they were able to watch it on such a big platform as well was was and is very special for me.
Oh, good as well. Speaking about this year, you've had quite a hell of an October as well.
Yeah.
Your October has been absolutely manic. I mean, 5 weeks, 5 promotions, 2 TV tapings, your first wrestling at a Comic-Con as well, first ever title match, and you're all over Scotland. I mean, just talk about that October, because holy shit, that's a hectic week, well, hectic month.
Yeah, and I didn't expect that sort of month to happen. Having shows every single week, and to be given the opportunities that was given. Comic-Con was incredible. Wrestled Emerson Jane, like I couldn't have imagined sort of like a better way to do that. Title match as well, FCW against Debbie Dahmer, being on ICW, and then there's Copenhagen Championship Wrestling, which was being filmed for Danish television as well. And I had a mixed tag in Tarbert, which is miles away in Scotland, but down like a really nice, beautiful area of Scotland. So that drive was incredible. But it was just the fact of like 5 weeks, 5 different promotions, 4 different competitors, and mixed tag, singles matches, Comic-Con. Like it was just incredible, and it really did give me a taste of what I dreamed of. And I really did not expect it to be a thing. And I remember coming home from the last show and just sitting on the couch and going, I can't believe that I've just done that. I felt so grateful for all of the opportunities and just so proud of myself for getting through it, and just kind of the amount that I'd learned in 1 month was unbelievable. You just can't ask for a better learning curve than to be kind of put into all these situations and opportunities. It was just unreal. I'm just going to continue to say that because that's genuinely how I feel about most things.
That's it. Some people are just like, it's just another month. But and you obviously feel that just must have meant so much. Like, holy fuck, I just worked my arse off here, and I've done so many great things, achieved great things. It's a true highlight of your career as well, just like for the progression side as well.
100%. I mean, for it to happen within the first 7 months since debuting, it's just, what more could I ask for? It's been an incredible experience, and it'll be something that really pushes me forward. From having that, I've taken so much away from everything that I've done, and just starting to implement it now. And I do work really hard. Like, I know that. I'm not afraid to admit it either. Now, I was a bit kind of nervous about it before, but I do work really hard, and I think I'm okay with saying that I deserved to be in those spots and to have those opportunities, and I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. If you put in the effort, time, and hard work, you absolutely do deserve that. Feeling of gratification as well for your work.
That's it.
Now, we've had obviously before James Ellis, Kid Cumry with West Wrestling, and they talked about wrestling in resorts, a different type of crowd. But you've wrestled at Scotland Comic-Con for Discovery Wrestling. What kind of crowd is a Comic-Con?
It was unbelievable. Like we were also in the bit that was kind of between. So if you've been at a Comic-Con before, you've got the kind of tables where you meet people, get the signatures, get the photos, and all the stalls that have things that you can buy. It was that, and then we were in the sort of in-between bit between that and where they had all these sets set up. So they had a Star Wars set and a Cobra Kai set and a Stranger Things set, and we were sort of in the middle, but we were also next to where the only food outlet was. Oh. So me and Emerson went out at, I think, 1:30. And just as we went out, there was maybe 50 people who stopped. By the end of the match, there's a picture just before the end of the match, and there's honestly about 200 people surrounding the ring because people were just walking through, and everybody just congregated in this like one area. It was a brilliant place to put the ring, to be honest. But I remember looking out at that bit. I was on the top rope and I had her, and I looked out, and all I could see was people dressed as stormtroopers and pirates, and we had Cobra Kai, and we had superheroes and all sorts of stuff. It was just incredible, and they were all into it. Everybody was absolutely loving it. But the best thing about Comic-Con was all of us walking around in our wrestling gear, and people were like, "Oh, who are you dressed as?" And you're kind of like, "Oh, myself."
Hey, I'm the biggest rising star in wrestling. That's who I'm dressing as.
Yeah, it was such an incredible atmosphere. It was honestly like something else. I'll never forget it.
Nah, great to hear. Obviously, I feel that would be a really interesting crowd and experience for you to take in the future. It's like, oh yeah, you've wrestled, maybe the bingo halls or the outdoor arenas, but I've wrestled at Comic Con. That's a whole different type of bag for that kind of crowd.
Yeah, because people, it was kind of not an extra, but it was it was an attraction. So it was people didn't have to book to watch it. They just sort of, if they liked what they saw, they stopped and watched, which was incredible for all the matches. We put on quite a few over the 2 days, and it got such a good reception. It was really good.
Oh, grand, absolutely well done for yourself. Now, I want to talk about match types here. There's been a bit of a controversy around intergender matches, man versus woman matches. We've had Eric Schultz from States on, who's had a match against Sky Blue, and he talked about how the stigmatization of that, as long as the other competitor is fine with doing it and you're both on the same wavelength, there should be no issue. I know you've been in an intergender match against Jason Reed for FPWA. From a female side, what is your point of view on it? Do you feel like it's not a big deal, not a big harm to yourself or controversy? It's just a match type, nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's entitled to their own opinion on it. My match with Jason is probably one of my favorite, and it was the point where I felt that I proved myself the most. I really trusted him. The match was amazing. Everybody in attendance, everybody who's given feedback on it, said that they forgot that it was intergender because of the way that we'd done it, and that it was very good for that fact. I don't necessarily think that there's a right or wrong way. I liked it. I would do more of them, but I understand if it's not people's thing. It really is down to the people that are involved in it. But I by no means do I think that. I think there's a way of doing it, and I think there's potentially some things that you would leave out potentially, and it is hard because you don't know what people have been through who are watching it, so you can't really tell what people's reactions are going to be. But I think if you do it well, everybody's safe, and it's entertaining, there's definitely a space for it. But like I said, I kind of think that it's down to individuals, and if it's not for some people, it's not for them. If it is, it is.
Yeah, fair enough. It's like, best way to describe wrestling is like a pick and mix. You got a bag, you get to pick out your choices, the ones you love, new flavors you want to try, throw back in the thing. Just, enjoy everything. There's a big variety for everybody.
Yeah, I was also in, we done a mixed tag recently. And I think some mixed tags, it's, strictly sort of like males and whatever, but we just switched it up because, we all trained together, we all had a great time. We all wrestle each other in training, so we knew that we could put on a good show. So I think it is what it is. It is completely down to the people. I enjoy it, but
hey, do what you love. That's it. You enjoy it. You're happy to do the match type. No problem with it. It's all up to yourself at the end of the day. Now, going back to Discovery Wrestling, you actually recently appeared on their Year 7 show, I believe, as well.
Yeah, last week.
Hey, close and close. What was that like for yourself?
Unbelievable. I got to go in with Lana Austin. It was probably my favorite match so far.
Wow. And obviously you would love to come back for Discovery Wrestling here in the great city of Edinburgh?
Yes, absolutely. The crowd are something else.
They truly are. I mean, speaking about, just not even just Scotland crowd, but UK crowds as well, they're truly a whole other level. You've got the Americans, they're good, they're all right. But here, Jesus Christ, we're pushing the bar right here with UK crowds. Do you believe that? Do you agree with that as well? Do you feel like UK crowds are truly the best?
100%. I was at Clash at the Castle, and that was the only proof that I need that the UK crowd are something that's not on this planet.
Oh, absolutely. I was there as well, and that drew in. Oh my God.
It was Edge's entrance. There's never been, Edge was my favorite, but I was crying the whole time. It was so emotional, but it was just incredible. And you could see it on all of the performance faces as well, that, the chants that they were getting, it was just so loud. It was constant. And it genuinely is like that, just even at small shows here, the crowd are so into it that it just makes everything so much better.
Yeah, it truly does. I mean, Clash at the Castle was just something else. Even that cash in by Austin Theory, getting laid out by Tyson. Oh my God, highlight. Mwah. Him getting punched in the face, beautiful.
It was so good, wasn't it?
Now, every time I've had a UK wrestler on, I always want to ask this one question. If WWE were to bring WrestleMania over, where in the UK should it be held?
Oh.
Now, I'll give you a little context. We have 3 points for London. Why not wait? 3 points for Cardiff, 2 for London, and none for Scotland. So,
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just don't think that there's anywhere big enough for it to be in Scotland. You know, it's just a shame. It's a shame because you would want somewhere way bigger. And, you know, I would say London, but I think it kind of closes a lot of people off because of how expensive it would be. Whereas Cardiff was just unbelievable. You know, I'd been to Cardiff like a few times this year already. But like the switch in atmosphere for when everybody was there, it was such a great city for it. They'd done so well with everything. And I think they proved that they could hold, you know, another big pay-per-view. So I would have to go for Cardiff, to be honest.
4 to Cardiff, 3 London, no for Scotland. We'll get on the board.
I would love it for it to be in Scotland, but I can't see it happening.
I just want to avoid the travel. I don't want to have to go down.
I know.
Trains, go on the tube. Something's closed down with roadworks. I'm a bit fucked over. It's like, shit,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it on time. I mean, hey, got there 30 minutes before the show started because the trains were fucked up, but I just want to avoid the travel.
I agree.
Now,
maybe we could build somewhere.
Hey, right, definitely. Come on, Murrayfield. Tony Khan. I know you're going to London, but come on. You would bring AEW up to Scotland, Triple H, Murrayfield. Hey, I'll take you in Glasgow. I'll happily go to Glasgow, but come on. Please, I don't want to break the heart. I don't want to break the wallet. I don't want to have to buy so many train tickets.
I mean, if it were to happen, you would still go regardless, wouldn't you, though?
Oh, of course, absolutely. I'll happily break the heart. Now, speaking about, we've talked a lot about WWE. Let's go move on to AEW side, second biggest promotion in the world currently. What about your initial thoughts on AEW? Is it something that appeals to you?
Yeah, I mean, I've not watched it religiously, to be honest. Just trying to find the time. I do watch highlights and stuff like that. I think their women's division is incredible. I think it's very different to WWE, so it does give a kind of different product on it. The fact that Paige Soraya's just come back. I've not seen the match from last night, but I'm very, very excited to watch it and see her in ring return. And you know, one of my favorite matches actually is AEW. It was Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. They done like it was on Paddy's Day. Yeah, it was incredible.
Match.
Absolutely incredible. And I don't usually like stuff like that, but I kind of think the way that the two of them done it just showed that, you know, they deserve to be at the top where they are. So I don't, it does appeal to me, but I don't watch it as much as I probably watch others.
Yeah, fair enough. As I said before, it's a pick and mix. Everyone's entitled to.
And you know, there's so much wrestling. How do we find the time to watch it?
Exactly, as well with jobs and everything in the UK, we can't stay up till 1 a.m. every day. It's not feasible, possible.
It's not. It's you know, unobtainable.
No, we're asleep patches. We don't get sleep. We're just like hibernating vampires. We do our best with what we can.
Yeah.
I want to go on as well for the future, outside of the UK as well. Do you want to go to America, Japan, or you just want, hey, if it's anywhere in the world, I'll go there? Yeah,
I mean, I've never really thought about it too much, to be honest. Obviously, I would want to if the opportunity ever arose. But as you know, I'm still very, very new, and I'm trying to keep things realistic in my own brain and keep pushing the way that I am. So, you know, first off is to kind of be booked outside of Scotland, which hopefully isn't too far away. But if the opportunity did arise, I would love to. I've been hearing a lot about Japan recently. Like, I knew a couple of people who had gone out and just get sort of hearing their experiences, and it sounds incredible. I'm not entirely sure if it's for me just yet. I think that I'm still very new, like I said, but I think if America would be an unbelievable dream, you know, even just to wrestle one match there would just be unbelievable. And there's a new women's promotion, it's WOW Superstars. Yes. And it's very in line with the sort of thing that I enjoy, like the sort of glow aspect. Like it's really sort of with who Daisy Jenkins is. So I'm starting to feel as though that's maybe a new goal.
Oh wow! So what is it about women's wrestling that really appeals to you? Is it just like that vibe you get from it, the talent? What is it about it?
I think once I started watching women's wrestling again, I kind of went down a rabbit hole of watching women from the 80s, and just everything that they'd done was perfection. Like they really hardly ever put a foot wrong in terms of like storytelling and their characters. And again, it was one of those things that really kind of pulled me out of not being very confident, and kind of given me something that I felt really resonated with me, was that sort of the aspect of the way that things were done then, and then sort of looking at the glow aspect and just how entertaining it is. Like it's just full of characters, and that's really what I aspire to be, is like somebody that makes people laugh, makes people smile, makes people cry. Like it's one of those things where that's what it's done for me, so that's really all I can aspire to want to replicate.
Well, hey, women's wrestling, if you're watching this, you've got a talent right here to bring
Yeah,
across.
I would love it.
You mentioned Glow as well. Obviously, Glow, from what I'm familiar with, I'm not familiar with the promotion, but I remember the show that was on Netflix.
Yeah,
Did you watch that show?
I did. I was so upset when they cancelled the last one because it was getting really good. It was a fantastic. It was a fantastic take on what Glow was. You can still go back and watch some of it. Some of it obviously doesn't translate to the times now, and I think you maybe need to take or leave a couple of things. But the sort of the true meaning behind it is still there. It's very entertaining. I think we can learn a lot from it. There's a lot of people that say what is old is new, and I've definitely taken a lot of things from that. But yeah, the Netflix show was. I need to go back and watch it actually, because I've not watched it in a while.
Yeah, we binging session in. I mean, even though Netflix cancelled it, Netflix increased prices and cancelled our great shows. They're bastards.
I know, it's ridiculous.
But what was it from, like, obviously Glow, I know that you think can be brought into now? What aspects you think are more relevant now than they were in the past?
I think it is the emotion and the storytelling aspect. Obviously, like it only works in certain situations because it is obviously an episodic TV show in its nature. So, building up storylines and rivalries between people, and it's kind of, if you watch one, you maybe haven't picked up everything, but if you watch more than one episode, you'll pick up like what's going on. But I think for me, it goes back to that whole confidence thing. It's just, they're very unapologetic with who they are, and they're able to kind of play off and be a lot. They improvise on the spot a lot in terms of their character, and that's something that, again, I try to aspire to want to be like. I've not got there yet, but that's the thing that kind of resonates most with me.
No, yeah, definitely as well. It's a great thing, even that aspects happened in the past. You're always learning and always developing. You can always look back and be like, hey, that moment there, I understand it, and I can implement it into the newer times to help elevate, the world of professional wrestling to higher levels. What I believe is that's right. Now, I know FPW actually have a show coming up in early December. It was a night at the wrestling.
That's it.
Yes, and it seems like you and Daisy might be. Are you? Is we going to see some? Am I going to have two guests fight again? I've already had 4. I mean, can we all just get along? Why all my guests fighting, man?
Yeah, I think we might have a fight on our hands with old Ashley.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to like bring peace here. I'm gonna have to be peace talker. I've had Shay, Visage, I've had Argus Artois, KJ Impala, and now Daisy Jenkins and Ashley Vega. Am I like an instigator here? Am I like the kid blowing people up? I'm gonna have to talk with the boss here. I'm gonna have to. What am I doing wrong here? God. But yeah, this was a night of the wrestling. If someone's watching this and wants to attend the show, how can they attend was a night of the wrestling?
Tickets are on sale. We've actually got a Black Friday offer, which I think is I'm going to get this wrong. I think it's 25% off tickets at the moment, and tickets are available at www.fpwatickets.eventbrite.com. You can also visit the Instagram page, FPW Asylum, and Fife Pro Wrestling School on Facebook, and there's links on there as well. But it's going to be an unbelievable show, let me tell you.
Oh, well, hey, folks, you've heard it here. Get there now. I mean, I might just book a ticket to go there and be peacemaker, stop my guests from fighting.
I think you should. I think you should definitely make the trip.
Well, pack a bottle of whiskey, backpack, and let it drop it. I'm going to peace talks right now. Let's avoid conflict. Come on.
Yeah.
Now,
the other good thing that we have as well is that we have figured out, or FPW have figured out, travel information for people as well, because it's not. Some people think that it's maybe not the easiest place to get to, so we figured that all out for you.
Oh, hey guys, check that out. Definitely check out the Fife Pro Wrestling Academy's Instagram page. We'll put it down in the description below. We've got the tickets off there, top Friday deals. Give them a check out. Honestly, we'll be grand. And another great wrestling event. Nowadays, we're coming to the end of our time here on the Soul Sessions. I really appreciate you coming on. And what I always like to ask guests, the future. What is 2023 looking like for Daisy Jenkins?
If it keeps going on the trajectory that we're going, then the sky has no limit. I keep trying to make goals and I keep smashing them. So I honestly cannot wait for next year. If it continues on like this, it's going to be incredible. And like I said earlier, I really hope to kind of be booked on some of the promotions that I've had the pleasure of being on so far. And England and Wales and Ireland are definitely goals of mine going forward. But I'm just looking forward to doing more, please.
Hey, we've had Warrior Wrestling CEO. We've got No Mercy Wrestling coming up. I guess I better shoot them a message. Come on, let's get the Scottish representation here. Yeah. Let's represent the great country we are. Come on now, folks. Let's book Daisy Jenkins. Well, Daisy, thank you very much for coming on here. And all my viewers on watching this episode, thank you very much for tuning in. Remember, Wrestling Republic for all your wrestling needs. I've been your host, Soul. This has been Daisy Jenkins. Thank you very much, folks, for tuning in.